This is the shit you see in like a Lifetime movie, where the villain starts beating himself to make it look like the dad beat him up or something. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we are back with episode 2 of Yatagarasu. As I promised before, we come back with notes and a board, as we usually do in most other shows that we watch. So, as usual, let's start with the board. Now, normally, when it comes to the board, the first time we bring it up, I would not have a board changelog like I normally do going forwards, as the board changelog is there to keep track of the changes that are made to the board, and the first time the board is made tends to be like a lot of stuff. So that said, for some reason I wrote a board changelog, but it is also not all encompassing. I'm aware that some things written on it don't reflect what's actually on the board. So as always, there will be a link down below in the description of the video to a bigger image of the board, so you're not completely beholden to what's going over here on the video. That said, I have added Yukiichi and the kid that was carrying them, connecting them with a blue line. I do name them later because they get named before the episode's over, so just keep in mind this is also written chronologically. Most of it is, anyway. I added asebi, Hamayu, Masho no Suzuki, and Shiratama. I added Omurasaki, Genya, Haruhito, Toro, Akira, and Fujinami. I connected Fujinami to Asabi with a green line. I connected all the lords to their daughters with a blue line. I added Akugi and connected her to Asabi with a green line. I added Cha no Hana and connected her to Shiratama with a green line. I added Kikuno and connected her to Masho no Suzuki with a green line. I added Yukimasa and connected him with a green line to Genya. And then I added Yukiya, connected him with a blue line to Yukimasa. Also, obviously, there is a little key over here on the side to let you know what the color lines mean and what the outlines mean faction-wise. Obviously, also, there will be more factions added should they begin to exist, and what have you. That said, I also proposed that I would try to do something. Last time that I said I don't do normally with my boards, and that is try to include a map. Now, what I've done over here is I'm going to try and keep tabs on where people are in regards to the location during the show. That way it's easier to keep track of, well, I don't know if situationally these things are going to happen, but if we need to keep track of who is where in regards to what might be happening, vis-a-vis notes I might have on, say, specific dangers people are in or whatever, there we have it. I tried to just make it the images, not the names, because obviously if I tried to keep the actual board in line with this, it would be way too complicated. I also thought about actually putting the character relationship board on here, and that would be fucking impossible. Because if I had to start moving people around, I'd be moving all these lines around, and that would be fine if this was the only show I watch, but I have a lot of boards to keep track of, to update constantly, and sometimes the thing that takes the most amount of time is drawing lines between people and moving those lines around, especially the more complicated a show gets. So, for now, this is our representation of who is where, and of course, let me know if any of that is wrong, or I lose track of a person or where they are, because I assume in the future I might not know where somebody's at, and they're clearly on the move, so I might just make a little unknown zone on the side of the map. So, that said, that is the board and additives. As I said, I do have notes, so let's go ahead and hop into that. I don't know enough about Yatagarasu, by which I mean the actual mythology and not just the show, obviously, to know when specific points of the mythos are being brought up in order to spot them. I mentioned this specifically for the beginning of episode 1, where we see the two kids running from something. They hear a roar and suddenly get disoriented. The fact that these are all ravens shapeshifted into humans form means that anything could be afoot. That there could be a predator of the ravens in the mythos with this power. It's certainly what I suspected while watching the episode again, but at the same time, they could they could tell me we had a concussion, and I'd be like, alright, that makes sense. My mind is just open to anything right now. I need more world building to put up guardrails to stop me from going too far over the edge. Now, I know I just said my thing about mythology, but at the same time, it seems entirely possible that the giant raven we saw at the beginning could have just been some person in raven form. The golden raven thing could have just been the light of the moon reflecting off of the feathers. I suppose the only thing that would leave me questioning it would be, how did it handle whatever was chasing them, and did they pass out because of the raven, or because of whatever disoriented the kid earlier? Also, did the fields of blue flames have anything to do with them? Like, was that a marching army, and this raven was their commander getting a, forgive me, bird's eye view of the land? I guess in the middle of this, I also started writing down terms. Yamauchi is the mountainous home of the Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu, the three-legged birds that take human form. Kinyu, lord of the Yatagarasu, the golden raven, passed from parent to child, generation to generation. Rite of Ascension, choosing the crown prince's consort. The singing beak of Yamauchi, a story of the history of Yamauchi. Locations, we have the Wisteria Hall, Cherry Blossom Palace, the location of the Rite of Ascension. Spring Hall, same place, is in Asabi's care. The Autumn Hall, same place, in Masu no Sugi's care. And then the mansion of the Northern House is, I'm guessing, the Northern Capital. I have to wonder about the whole second daughter thing, only from the perspective of a political drama. We had a shot in the episode of fighting going on, as well as the intro talking about all sorts of plots in the past. So things are not always peaceful in Yamachi. Choosing to send an unrefined second daughter to such an important event might well be the actions of a house trying to appease the leadership through expected action while moving against it in other circles. Then again, Northern House sent their third daughter, so maybe it means nothing. I know this is just the first episode, and I might be reaching without knowing all the themes and players yet. Just was something that occurred to me as I thought about the reasons why a house might do something like this when the narration is telling us how important it is. So the meeting of the four lords, which the prince apparently slights by not showing up, we have the Lord of the East stating their hope that the prince would have accepted the invitation, while the Lord of the North is upset by the slight. The Lord of the South goes a step further and proposes that he won't be able to govern if he slights the houses this way. Finally, the Lord of the West suggests that South might be plotting something while remaining unconcerned about any fallout over which daughter gets chosen. Just a note here that Lady Shiratama is only 14. I don't know if that's going to come into play anywhere, but better noted than not noted. So, in the description of why Asabi's name is an insult, Mosho no Suzuki looks over at a stable with some ravens in it. The implication, it feels like, is that for them, these are horses as per the name. But if everyone is a raven in human form, are those just feral ravens that never got taught how to shift into human form? We hear one caw into the air rather than speak, and it seemed implied from the opening that they can talk in raven form. So I guess these are just animal ravens? It's either that, or they have a whole subclass of people that they treat and raise like animals. This really falls into the whole Disney Goofy and Pluto situation where one is a dog person and the other is just a dog. In its first episode, this is already a show that kind of breaks the concept board I make for character relations. In a political drama, there are far more states than just friend and enemy. Normally, I just put down white lines to present a more a more uncertain relationship, and that's what I've done so far here as well. But watching the three consort prospects talk to one another about Asabi's name, it really emphasizes the failure in that system. There are clearly pairings in that group which are more antagonistic to one another than not, and others that are friendlier than not, while at the same time being neither friends or enemies. I've said it a number of times, this is just another section of the concept board that I need to figure out how to do better, and have yet to come up with an idea for yet. For notation's sake, the Western and Southern houses consider themselves the front runners for this, and apparently consider the Eastern and Northern houses to be no threat. Asabi does little to address those concerns, and it seems Shiratama is either trying to make herself appear the same, or help Asabi through related action. So in the world mythos, the mountain god is over the golden raven, who rules in the mountain god's stead. The houses represent the golden raven's children's holdings, with the first kid being the eastern land, flowers, the second kid the southern land with fruit, the third kid with the western land, rice, and the fourth kid the northern land, springs. Which kind of makes sense given the personalities of the consorts to be. Masho no Suzuki likes finer and beautiful things, coming from the land of flowers. I'll be honest, that's as far as I got before I really thought about it. I don't know how fruit connects to Hamio, unless maybe it has something to do with being spoiled. She does mention drinks before, fermented fruit, maybe? Asabi's connection to rice could be some sort of metaphor about farmers being simple folk. I got nothing on springs, as Shiratama is still a bit of a mystery herself. The talk about the house whose daughter becomes the consort to the prince, securing their house's future, still brings to mind the question I was asking during the reaction: to which house did the empress come from? It seems to me that she would be influencing things to make her own house win this thing again, unless she's so far removed from her own house's politics by virtue of her current position as to not care. I would suspect, at least, that the indication would be that she isn't from the Western House, given her nicknaming of Asabi. She does mention a Lady Raven having slipped into the palace, but clearly I have no concept of what that might mean just yet, other than the fact it seems she wants to use whoever it is to further her ends by whatever it is they or the prince might be doing. Some rando later calls people hill ravens and court ravens, so she could just be saying lady and adding raven to the end for no reason. Obviously, she's also got full sway over the Emperor, given how shaky and hesitant he seems to be in the only scene we've seen him in. There are certain things in shows like this that ingratiate me to a character more so than their backstory or whatever they might be trying to do in the story. Asebi wanting to attend a party with her friends, I just screwed that up completely. Asebi wanting to attend a party with friends because she's never done that before, and excitedly pulling out the dolls that she made, not expecting everyone to laugh at her and suggest that she doesn't belong. That's the fast track to getting me on your side. I know I'm a dick about a lot of characters in anime and instantly disliking them for some random reason, but this is the most understandable life experience that always hits me whenever it happens in these shows. Asebi might not be my favorite of the characters at the moment, but I'll certainly be rooting for her at the very least. And my final note here. I'm probably an idiot for still guessing at who the two kids at the start were, but I legit didn't know. So I'll be making another guess based on Hamio's story about the prince. Could it be that the one that saw the golden raven at the start was the older brother of the prince, and that's why the priest said his younger brother would be the one to inherit the throne? That the older brother, having a vision of the golden raven, essentially forced him into the priest's role? I'm going to combine these two thoughts together for ease of relation, but they say the prince turned witless on a long trip abroad, but also that he might be a real Kinyu. I'm sure that implies backstory for him that we will discover as the show goes on, specifically what happened to him on said trip and who his mother was to make him a real Kinyu, should such a thing be true. I only lean more towards it actually being so, given that the show started by showing us a real Kinyu. It could be that that trip that made him witless was the start of the episode, and that the golden raven we saw there was actually the prince himself, in which case throw out all of my previous theories about it, and, since I write this as I go, Yukichi shows up as Yukiya's brother right at the end of the episode, showing who those two were and making most of this paragraph pointless. At the very least, it does denote the passage of time, as they do look older at the end of the episode than they did at the very beginning. So, yeah, I apologize for that half of that paragraph being essentially worthless. To be honest, I wrote the first half at the beginning of the episode, had a bunch of thoughts in the middle, which is where the middle of the paragraph comes from, and then right at the end, had to note, oh, wait, I was wrong about everything. Those two kids are these two kids. And that was quite probably the prince, considering they throw out the whole real Kinyu thing. So, yeah. Anyway, those were my notes, as I said, so there's nothing really left to do here but to hop on in and see what we get.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Oh, we're going back in time a little bit to before he got his ass kicked. I don't... Dude, here's the thing. And I think I brought this up. I apologize, by the way. I may have mentioned this at the end of last episode. We have to talk over the opening and ending of shows on this channel. Mostly for copyright reasons. So that's why these are visible on the Patreon side, covered up on the YouTube side. The element I was talking about. He seems so confident that when he chased after them during last episode, I was like, oh, he's going to be a badass. He's going to kick their ass. I guess I'm just so kind of used to that in the anime that we watch these days, that when he appeared again laying on the ground with his ass kicked, it's like, oh, he's just overconfident. Which is, to be fair, not something you often see, because it seems like a lot of anime these days are power fantasy, so you had a main character who's overpowered for the sake of seeing what that would be like. At the same time, I kind of like that he's overconfident, or they could be pulling that he's just smart, right? Because he does seem to have family and some sort of power. So he could be getting his ass kicked on purpose to then use that as a measure against the people who consider themselves to be higher than him. But the name of the episode doesn't kind of give me a lot of confidence in that.
その顔で何が転びましてだ。どうしてお前はいつも問題を起こすんだ。あなた、きっと何かわけが。とにかく。
Okay, more characters to the board.
おとなしくしていろ。いいな。
I mean, he managed to get out of going here last year, apparently.
無事愛になりましたこと。お喜び申し上げまする。今回は千載一遇の好機。 何としても白玉には受代を果たしてもらわねば。
あなた。
It used to be like the wife's episode. That's my guy. I recognize the art. That's my guy.
これは宗家の御前で飛んだこと。
構いませんよ。四家が切磋琢磨することでこの山内は栄え
Mirror
安
Temple.
定するのです。山神様もお喜びになるでしょう。
こちらは白玉の東電祝いのために中央より駆けつけてくださった宗家の長子名教員夏香様だ。夏香
I
様。
was say, why is he here though? Specifically on this side.
に優れた優秀な男子が3人もいるとか。
いや、とてもそのような。謙遜することはあるまい。
Is this like his
こ
support
の機会だ。これはもう夏香様
for
に
their
ご挨拶
daughter specifically?
その
ユキヤ、何を泣いているのです？
ごめんなさい。全部僕が悪いんです。
ユキヤ、どうしたその顔。
僕が宮ガラスの方を怒らせてしまって。
What I say? He's being smart. He's using the politics against
今
them.
朝市場にいらして餅を召し上がったのです。けどお題をお忘れだったので追いかけて請求したところ。
暴行を受けたのか。
でも僕が悪いんです。失礼な態度だったようで怒らせてしまって。
あいつ山ガラスじゃねえ。校長の息子だったんだ。
I gotta give it to him. This is fucking brilliant.
カズマル様のただ食いも僕が殴られたのも。だからこれ以上家族をいじめないで。ごめんなさい。
This is the shit you see in like a Lifetime movie, where the villain starts beating himself to make it look like the dad beat him up or something.
バカ者。一体なんてことをしてくれたんだ。
申し訳ありません。
でもではない。これでお前が若宮のそば使いになる話は取り消しだ。あんなに苦労して手に入れた。
See, now we already have a sub family at odds with the main character's family.
ユキヤ、怪我の具合はどうだ。
まあ、痛いっちゃ痛いですな。それは何より。ですが、カズマロの代わりは早急に探さねばなりませんね。
それなのだ。若宮殿下のそば
I think he's not that smart, because he seems like he's given up completely on playing up the thing he was doing.
雪政殿が恐縮することはないでしょ
夏香様、これはお恥ずかしいところを。
う。いや、なかなかの見ものでした。しかし雪谷殿も時と場合に応じた振る舞いを身につける必要はありそうですね。
僕そんなに礼儀知らず
So
ですか
far,
ね。
not hating the guy I've been drawn as.
空いた若宮のそば使いのお役目を行儀見習いを兼ねて雪谷殿に任せてみては。
え、それはいい考えですね。
なるほど、その手があった。ユキヤ、
I assume because you didn't have the authority to do that.
ちょっと待ってくださいよ。僕はそんなつもりで。
なんて良いお話でしょうね、あなた。
Unless this is like something you send people to do when they get trained to do it.
こうなったら腹をくくれ。いいか、1年経たずに自分から根を
Or is the prince from this house? And that's why the older brother is here.
勘弁してください。
こいつはやればできるやつなんです。私からもぜひ。
ぜひ。
やりすぎた。
Alright, back at center.
姫様、お体が冷えますよ。
見て。
Not with that many layers.
桜が満開だったのに。
You guys are dressed for nuclear winter.
若宮様はいつおいでになるのかしら。そもそもどんなお方なの？噂ではとんでもないうつけだと。
姫様。
Witless. Witless is what they say.
紫は宗家にのみ許されたお色。
Okay, I like that. That's it's good theming.
多忙のため当面大花宮には行けず、どうぞお体にお気をつけて。
社交辞令でしたね。ま、これで一応まっとうな方ということは確認できました。
It's like a freaking high school thing. Oh, she's also not attending parties, so I'm assuming he's sending these letters to everybody. Except for the lords.
なんでこうなるかな。
何が落ち込むことがある。
Lineal grandson.
お前は幸運なんだぞ。若宮殿下のそば使いなんて。
I guess I'm gonna have to look at the word lineal later, because I don't know how it applies to this situation.
数十年に一度しかない東電の真っ最中。本来なら嬉しくて踊り出してもいいくらいだ。
はあ。
赤一本。
僕はただ持ち代を払って欲しかっただけなんですけどね。そのついでにタルヒを自分のもんだと勘違いしている貴族様がちょっとばかり痛い目に遭えば、それで十分。
How out of the realm you went to make sure he got what's coming to him.
クリオは子供が元気でいいな。お前の故郷を思う気持ちはわかる。だが中央で学んだことはきっとタルヒのためになる。白一本。それにこちらも助かるのだ。白玉姫は美しいが、それだけで選ばれるほど大花宮は甘くはない。
For some reason, I kept thinking that she was Southern, even though I had just read all my notes and everything.
僕は田舎貴族の次男坊に過ぎませんよ。
何を言うユキヤ。そもそもお前はホッケの。
僕、そろそろなんで、キエ様ものんびりしていて大丈夫ですか？今日中央にお戻りになるのですよね。ま、お役目は引き受けますよ。軽装員入りなんてごめんですからね。3年間も毎日武人の修行って。だったら1年間の宮遣いの方がよっぽどマシ。というわけでご心配なく、道中お気をつけて。
Second, I was worried that we were going to go through a time skip. At least we're just going to be spending the entire year with them on whatever's to come.
相変わらず強いな、一流は。
タルヒのぬるま湯育ちに言われてもな。
I would say he kind of looks like the guy who was raiding the village last episode. I assume they were raiding the village. It looked like a raid.
その次期豪長の弟様が試合してるぜ。ちょっと冷やかしに行かねえか。
ユキヤにしっかり。構えろ構えろ。腕を下げるな。
ああ。
Never gonna be intimidated by a guy who's like, oh,
貴族様に殴られるだけで宮遣いができるなら、俺10回殴られてもいい。バーカ、そんな簡単な話かよ。知ってるか？タルヒ3兄弟の中で、実はユキヤだけ母親が違うんだぜ。しかも聞いた話によると、超身分の高いお姫様。俺に言わせりゃ、
puts him in the same boat as the prince of having a different mother than the other brother.
ここで殴られとけや。 うまい話が転がり込むとか。
そこまで知るかよ。まあ本人は面白くねえだろうな。
Again, you're getting beaten by a guy who's taking high strokes, high wide strokes.
中央に行けばコネが作れる。兄を追い落とし、自分が豪長になることぐらい考えてるかもしれねえな。
やべえ、お家騒動だ。
It is a disappointing fight. Especially compared to the last one we were watching.
なんか食おう。
嬉しいな。一流さんに手ほどきしてもらえるなんて。思い切ってお願いしてよかった。
So you're gonna prove he's actually a better swordsman than he is out there? He was intentionally trying to look bad.
一流さんと兄では格が違いますから。さてと。
遅いな、ユキヤのやつ。
I keep guessing this guy wrong every freaking time. Okay, never mind. Double wrong.
一流さん、手ほどきしてくれるんでしょ？早く次を教えてくださいよ。
I mean, I legit don't appreciate someone going for the stab move in my throat.
試合中はよくもいろいろ言ってくれましたね。
お前聞いて。
まあ、あんだけでかい声で喋られちゃ勝手に耳にも入るわな。
あれは話の流れで。
僕が郷長の座を兄上から奪うって母親の血筋がいいから？
いや、そりゃありえねえっていう前提で。冗談だよ、冗談。
冗談ね。
I do really appreciate that he is purposely making himself look like a fool. It's the best way to get people to underestimate you.
だけどそれを利用する輩は確実にいるんだ。血筋とか家とか山ガラスとか宮ガラスとか、そんなのを口実に甘い汁を吸おうとして、そのためには人の家族をバラバラにしても構わない。
助けて、母上、やめてください。雪を返して。
お前たちには荷が重い。ユキヤは我々が育てる。
面白おかしく噂を垂れ流す奴らのせいで家族がどれだけ辛い思いをしてきたか。
お方様も変わり者だよ。血のつながらない次男坊を可愛がってさ。
Well, this is very much a
よく聞け一流。
shitty situation.
中央に行く気はないし、兄上の座を奪うつもりもない。タルヒの次男坊として一生兄上を立て、兄上の下で働いて、そしてタルヒに骨をうずめるつもりだ。僕の家にはお家騒動なんて存在しない。この先も
Man, damn straight.
やめろ。もういいだろ。一流も悪気があ
I
った
feel
はず
like
ない。
the show is making him a main character, which might cause that dispute of which he's trying to avoid.
次期郷長である僕が言っている。やめなさい、ユキヤ。
わかりました。
Gotta love his energy, though. Not so much the dead stare in his eye.
やあ、いい年して迷子になるなよ。しょうもねえな、ユキヤは。
Better hope the younger brother doesn't become the source of a dispute, though. Because we understand those two. Not much about the younger.
母上、まだ起きておられるのですか？
ユキヤ、ちょうどいいところに。袖が少し長いかしら。でも男の子は急に大きくなるし。
たった1年ですよ。それにわざわざ母上が縫わなくても。
何を言うのこの子は。母は
I mean, even Superman's mom made his clothes.
外の世界を知ってほしいと思ってたから。今まで随分と窮屈な思いをさせてしまったけど。
きっと期待には応えられません。若宮のそば使いはたくさんいますし。
ええ。
すぐに帰ってくるかも。あ、
それでもいいのです。母はお前を誇りに思ってますよ。
Oh,
くれぐ
right
れ
in
も
the chest.
体に気をつけて。精一杯若宮様にお仕えしてらっしゃい。
はい。
お美しゅうございます。
Man, she's the one I'm most interested in finding out about, because we don't know anything about her so far. Well, we know some things about her, but I'm more interested in her actions during episode 1 and what they reflect on her.
春日より若宮殿下の新しいそば使いが参るそうです。だいぶ前に亡くなったホッケの姫の血筋のものとか。
使い物になるのかしら。若宮様は気難しい方と聞いているわ。
ご心配召さるな。他にも各所に送り込んだ者たちが情報を集めておりますゆえ。
Okay. Gonna be our subterfuge faction.
必ずや姫様には呪題遊ばしていただきます。
もうすぐ完成でございますね。ダメよ聞くの。私を油断させないで。今が一番大事なところなの。
Given what they're all about and how much they were talking down on Asebi, that she would be making her own shit.
これをご覧になれば、自分のことを誰が一等思っているのか、きっと分かってくださるわ。
酒もほどほどにされたらどうか。よもやお役目をお忘れではありますまいな。浜優殿。浜優さん。
Okay, we got her waiting finally.
お前の主人は私だ。間違えるな。安心しろ。忘れちゃいない。だが肝心の若宮が来ないんじゃ動きようがないだろう。まったく自分勝手な男だよ。
I guess these guys didn't get the letter that Asabi got. I mean, that thing was in the opening. The instrument she was playing, I mean.
はいはい。
タルヒと宮中は違う。不用意に上でうろついたり、転身したりしないように。特に貴族の方々の前では。
はいはいはい。
いいか。1年も経たずに返された場合は軽装員に叩き込み、骨の髄からお前を鍛え直してやるからな。
Yeah, it was here for a year or the monastery for 3 years, wasn't it?
あれが山内の中心、中央山だ。
So yeah, those ravens might actually just be people. The whole rule is to separate the lowborn from the highborn, and not to shapeshift in front of nobles.
何をしている？こっちだ。
はい。ここ商用宮ですよね。
It's funny that they would have a whole elevation equaling nobility thing, considering that they all can fly.
のこと何も知らないんですよね。誰に聞いてもわからないって言うし。
I always love those haircuts.
ご足労いただき恐縮です。キエ殿。
お役目ご苦労様です。新しいそば使いを連れてまいりました。
はじめまして、タルヒのユキヤと申します。
山内衆が一位、若宮殿下直属、近衛の住代と申す。早速ですが、ユキヤ殿を引き取らせていただいてよろしいか。
もちろん。ではユキヤ、健闘を祈る。
ユキヤ殿。
I suppose it's going to take a lot to make him not appear to be a fuck up, only because specifically he doesn't seem to be afraid to get beaten.
他の方々は随分静かですけど。
Seems like they're all locked into their quarters.
2人だ。君と俺の2人だけだと言っている。
Okay, and they're not locked in their quarters. Their quarters are just locked because no one's using them.
少なくとも1月前には10人近い貴族の坊ちゃんがいると聞いていたんですけど。
みんな辞めたかクビになった。それでも先日までかろうじて3人いたのだが、結局持病の悪化や家庭の事情で。こちらが殿下のお住まいになる。殿下、新しいそば使いを連れてまいりました。
入れ。
Oh, I thought he was just out and about. I didn't know he was holding up.
やっと来たな。
お初にお目にかかります。タルヒのユキヤと申します。
待っていたぞ。
So yeah, my note was correct then. He was that guy, or that raven. I'll be honest, I didn't expect him to look so... Is regal the word I'm looking for here? He definitely looks very, not distinct. Angular? I just don't know what the word I'm looking for here is. The way Yukiya kind of looks, not childlike, but, you know, like mischievous up until the point where he gets those very dead eyes, right? I kind of expected the prince to look mischievous, even though he's been described as witless. I don't know, I just anticipated that he was going to be more a standard anime character, I guess. And it very much looks like he is going to be... not brooding, I would maybe say my guy here, guy with was an image there a second ago, brooding might be the thing. Serious? I don't know, I guess when we got introduced to the consorts first, and they kind of seemed like high school drama, I kind of anticipated that would be more the same thing going on, and then we'd be hit with like a serious wave of political intrigue, like a Game of Thrones situation. But it very much seems like the consorts are just their own thing, and that other people are taking everything very seriously.
若宮の下で働き始めたユキヤ。しかし宮中は金羽にまつわる黒い噂で溢れていた。
Well, that's concerning.
男子禁制の大家宮でユキヤは姫君たちの悲哀を知る。次回、誠の金羽。
Kind of the same way we get those ending illustrations in Magia Record. I was saying that's kind of concerning because my character here, whose name, by the way, have not memorized, saw it the one time, starts with an N, kind of forgot. He was standing next to the big old reddish guy who I just described seeing the other swordsman guy earlier in the episode. I said he kind of looked like that guy from the raid. And that was the guy from the raid, I think. So, and whoever he was with when he was attacking a village was like completely masked up, not unironically the same way Jinshi was earlier in the day when we recorded Apothecary Diaries, implying it's somebody who wants to remain hidden. Duh, of course, but the element that maybe it's my guy? Maybe my guy is up to something? I don't know. Again, we're only in episode 2, so the greater political stances of everybody kind of has to be introduced, and I feel like we're being introduced to the world, and we're being introduced to the political stances of people as they are. But as was given to us early in episode 1, there are plots afoot that already exist. And I feel like those are still going to be taught to us as it comes along. So I'm anticipating that. At the same time, we're kind of on a journey here. The implication is that this kid's going to be here for a year at the very least. I don't know what the time frame of the show is going to be. Like, certainly, it could time skip a couple of times throughout, and we deal with things as they come. Or we could be living in the day-to-day. Who really knows? Well, people who saw the show already know, but I'm talking about right now. The anticipation for what is to come, certainly present. I am still very much enjoying the show. I enjoy that they're not like, let's keep it to a very specific small cast and then just follow what they do. They seem unafraid to introduce characters who have very specific jobs that also seem like they would exist, right? You don't have to wonder, why is this character doing this thing when they should have this whole other network of people doing it for them? we have that whole network, and apparently we're going to learn everybody in that network. I appreciate that. I was joking with Lessons the other day, my co-host for a number of these shows, about the element that it's kind of funny that I've started watching this solo, and we're now going to be picking back up Legend of the Galactic Heroes again, a show where also tons and tons of characters. So my days of keeping track of stuff on the board are going to be endless. That said, though, I think I've given out my my unsurfaced thoughts as they stand. I'll probably, of course, come back with more once we hit next episode. So once again, stay tuned for changes to the board, more notes about what happened this episode. But until then, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Stone-Faced Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?